The meeting room feels like a trap the moment I walk in. Imogen from HR sits on one side of the long glass table, her expression carefully blank. Beside her is Alistair from Legal, drumming his fingers against a leather folder. Neither of them smiles when I enter. "Tamsin, please sit," Imogen says, gesturing to the chair across from them. My stomach tightens. I've worked here for 8 years. 8 years of early mornings, late nights, and projects that saved this company thousands. But the air in this room tells me none of that matters anymore. Alistair slides a document across the table. The header reads, "Notice of Termination." My breath catches. "We're restructuring," Imogen begins, her voice flat. "Your position has been made redundant. Effective immediately." Redundant. The word stings like a slap. I glance at the paper, my vision blurring slightly. There's no warning, no performance review, no conversation. Just this cold, clinical dismissal. "You'll receive a severance package," Alistair adds, tapping the folder. Standard terms. I look up at them both, searching for some hint of humanity. Imogen's face remains stone cold. She's enjoying this, I realize. She's relishing the power. My hands tremble as I pull the document closer. This isn't right. None of this is right. But they're watching me, waiting for me to crumble, to sign, to disappear quietly. I won't give them that satisfaction. Not yet. Imogen leans forward, pushing the paper even closer to me. Her manicured nails tap against the table, a deliberate rhythm meant to unsettle me. "Your severance is conditional," she says slowly, as if speaking to a child. "You need to sign this release. It waives all claims against the company, past, present, and future. No lawsuits, no complaints, no drama." Alistair nods beside her. "Sign now and you walk away with your package. Refuse, and you leave with nothing." The threat hangs in the air, heavy and suffocating. They're trying to panic me. I can see it in the way Imogen smirks, in the way Alistair's eyes flicker with impatience. They've done this before. This is a script they've perfected. I glance down at the document again. The legal language is dense, full of corporate jargon designed to confuse. But I've been in this industry long enough to recognize the tactics. They're trying to strip me of my rights while dangling a carrot I'm supposed to be grateful for. How much time do I have to review this? I ask, keeping my voice steady. Imogen's smile widens. "You have now. Either you sign or you don't. We don't have all day." My pulse quickens. They want me rattled, rushed, compliant. But even through the fear and anger, a small voice in my head whispers, "Don't let them win." I pick up the document, pretending to read it carefully. My mind races. There has to be a way out of this. There has to be something I can do. As I scan the pages, my eyes catch on the formatting. It's a standard termination agreement, the kind I've seen dozens of times in my career. But there's something off about this one. The margins are wider than usual, and there's a strange spacing inconsistency near the signature line. A wild, dangerous idea begins to form in my mind. What if I didn't just sign this? What if I added something? My heart pounds. It's risky. Incredibly risky. But Imogen's smug face and Alistair's cold indifference fuel something inside me, a spark of rebellion I didn't know I had. I glance up at them. Imogen is checking her phone, barely paying attention. Alistair is flipping through another folder, his focus elsewhere. They think this is over. They think I'm already beaten. That's their mistake. I look back at the document, studying the layout. There's a section just above the signature line, a blank space where legal notes or amendments might typically go. If I'm careful, if I'm clever, I could add something there, something that looks like it was always part of the agreement. The idea is insane. It could backfire spectacularly. But what do I have to lose? They're already taking everything from me. I take a slow breath, steadying my nerves. If I'm going to do this, I need to be calm, precise, and invisible. May I borrow a pen? I ask, my voice carefully neutral. Alistair slides one across the table without looking up. Imogen barely glances at me, already bored with the whole process. Perfect. I lean over the document, positioning my body to partially shield what I'm writing. My hand moves quickly but carefully, adding a single line of text in the margin just above the signature section. The handwriting is neat, professional, almost identical to the typed font. It reads, "The company agrees to a full, independent audit of all HR termination protocols for the past 5 years to be initiated at the employee's discretion." I initial the clause with a small, tidy mark, just like any other marginalia on a legal document. Then I sign my name at the bottom, my signature bold and clear. My heart is racing so hard I'm sure they can hear it. But I keep my face calm, expressionless. I slide the document back across the table. Imogen picks it up, glancing at it for barely 3 seconds before tucking it into her folder. "Good," she says dismissively. "You can leave your badge at reception." Alistair nods. "Already standing. HR will process your final paycheck." Neither of them noticed. They didn't even look closely. Their arrogance just handed me a weapon they don't even know exists. I stand, nodding politely. "Thank you," I say, my voice steady. As I walk out of that sterile room, I feel a strange sense of calm settle over me. They think they've won. But this is just the beginning. The walk to the elevator feels surreal. My legs move automatically, carrying me through the familiar hallways one last time. Colleagues glance at me, some with pity, others with relief that it wasn't them. No one speaks. At reception, I hand over my badge. The security guard, a kind man named Thomas who always said hello, takes it from me with sad eyes. "Sorry to see you go," he says quietly. I force a smile. "Thank you, Thomas." Outside, the afternoon sun is too bright, too cheerful for how I feel. I stand on the sidewalk for a moment, letting the reality sink in. I've been fired. After 8 years of loyalty, I've been discarded like I never mattered. But as I walk to my car, I pull out my phone. Before leaving the building, I'd taken a photo of the signed termination agreement while Imogen was distracted. Now, sitting in my car, I zoom in on the image. There it is, my added clause, clear and undeniable, with my initials beside it. A clause they didn't read. A clause they signed off on by accepting the document. A clause that's now legally binding. I lean back in my seat, staring at the photo. My hands are shaking, but not from fear. From something else. Something fierce. They underestimated me. They thought I was just another victim in their system. But I'm not done with them. Not even close. At home, I sit at my kitchen table with my laptop, staring at the photo of the signed document. The added clause seems almost too good to be true, but the more I examine it, the more I realize how perfectly it's positioned. In contract law, marginalia, handwritten notes or amendments initialed by both parties can be considered binding if they're part of the signed document. Imogen and Alistair accepted my signature. By filing that document, they implicitly agreed to everything on it, including my clause. I read it again. The company agrees to a full, independent audit of all HR termination protocols for the past 5 years to be initiated at the employee's discretion. This isn't just a random addition. I've suspected for months that Imogen was systematically forcing out older, higher-paid employees. I'd heard whispers from former colleagues, seen patterns in who got let go, and when. But I never had proof. This clause is my key to uncovering the truth. If I can trigger an independent audit, everything will be examined: termination files, severance calculations, discrimination patterns. And if my suspicions are correct, Imogen's entire operation will be exposed. My phone buzzes. A text from my friend Petra, who still works at the company. Heard what happened. "I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" I type back. "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." She responds with a confused emoji, but I don't elaborate. Not yet. I save the photo to 3 different cloud accounts, just to be safe. Then I draft an email. The email is polite, professional, and devastatingly precise. I address it to both Imogen and Alistair, with a copy to the company's external compliance officer. The subject line reads, "Request for audit per termination agreement." I attach the photo of the signed document, with my added clause highlighted in yellow. Then I write, "Dear Imogen and Alistair, As per the terms outlined in my signed termination agreement, attached, I am formally requesting the initiation of a full, independent audit of all HR termination protocols for the past 5 years. Please confirm receipt of this request and provide a timeline for the audit's commencement. Thank you for your cooperation. Best regards, Tamsin. My cursor hovers over the send button. Once I click this, there's no going back. They'll know what I've done. They'll come after me. But what's the alternative? Let them get away with it? Let them keep destroying careers without consequence? I think about the colleagues I've seen forced out over the years. Good people, talented people who deserved better. People who left quietly because they didn't have the fight left in them. I have the fight. I click send. The email whooshes into the void. And for the first time in days, I smile. The response comes faster than I expected. My phone pings at 7 a.m. the next morning, jolting me awake. It's from Imogen. The subject line. Request for audit per termination agreement. I sit up in bed, heart pounding, and open the email. Tamsin, your so-called clause is fraudulent and not legally binding. Any unauthorized amendments to a termination agreement are null and void. We will not be complying with this absurd request. Consider this matter closed. Imogen. Her tone is sharp, defensive. But it's the panic underneath that catches my attention. If she truly believed the clause was meaningless, she wouldn't have responded so quickly or so aggressively. An hour later, another email arrives. This one is from Alistair, and it's far more measured but equally telling. Tamsin, we are reviewing the document in question and will respond formally through our legal counsel. Please do not contact the company directly regarding this matter. Alistair. I lean back against my headboard, reading both emails again. They're scared. They're scrambling. And most importantly, they're not outright denying the clause's validity. They're just trying to intimidate me into backing down. That means I'm onto something. I forward both emails to my own lawyer, a sharp woman named Fiona, who I'd consulted the night before. Her reply is almost instant. They're bluffing. Hold your ground. I grin. Game on. 3 days later, a letter arrives by courier. It's from the company's external law firm, a prestigious outfit with a reputation for aggressive tactics. The letter is long, filled with legal jargon and veiled threats. The core message is clear: retract your unauthorized amendment, or face legal action for fraud and breach of contract. I read it twice, my pulse quickening with each paragraph. They're trying to scare me. They're trying to make me fold. But there's something they didn't count on. I've done my research. I pull out the notes I've been compiling over the past few days. Case law precedents where handwritten marginalia on signed contracts were upheld as binding. Legal opinions on the enforceability of clauses added before signing, provided both parties accepted the document. I'm not bluffing. I'm prepared. I draft a response, carefully citing each precedent, each legal principle. I explain that the clause was added before I signed, that the document was accepted and filed by the company, and that under contract law, they are bound by its terms. I end with a simple statement: I await confirmation of the audit's commencement. Fiona reviews my response before I send it. You're playing with fire, she warns. But you're not wrong. Good, I reply, because I'm not backing down. I send the letter via registered mail, ensuring there's a paper trail. Then I wait. The silence that follows is deafening. A week passes. No response from the company. No phone calls, no emails, nothing. I start to wonder if they're going to ignore me entirely, hoping I'll give up. But then, on a quiet Thursday afternoon, I receive an unexpected message. It's from a woman named Callista. The email is brief, cryptic. I used to work in HR under Imogen. I know what she's been doing. We need to talk. My heart skips. I respond immediately, suggesting we meet at a coffee shop downtown. She agrees. The next morning, I arrive early, choosing a corner table where we can talk privately. Callista arrives 10 minutes later, looking nervous. She's younger than I expected, maybe late 20s, with tired eyes and a cautious demeanor. Thank you for meeting me, she says, sliding into the seat across from me. What do you know? I ask, keeping my voice low. She glances around, then leans in. Imogen has a system. She targets employees who are close to vesting stock options or reaching salary milestones. She builds false performance issues, manufactures complaints, creates paper trails. Then she forces them out before they can claim what they've earned. My blood runs cold. How long has this been going on? At least 5 years, Callista says. Maybe longer. I couldn't take it anymore. That's why I left. She slides a USB drive across the table. This is everything I saved before I quit. Spreadsheets, emails, recordings. Proof. I stare at the drive, my hands trembling. Why are you giving this to me? Because you're fighting back, she says simply. And someone needs to. That night, I plug the USB drive into my laptop. What I find is staggering. There are dozens of files, spreadsheets tracking targeted employees, emails with instructions on how to construct a case, even recordings of Imogen coaching her team on how to document performance issues that didn't exist. One spreadsheet is titled Phase Out List. It contains names, ages, salaries, and projected stock vesting dates. My name is on it. So are 15 others, many of whom I know were forced out over the past 2 years. I feel sick. This isn't just bad management. This is systematic, deliberate fraud. I copy everything to a secure cloud account, then call Fiona. I have evidence, I tell her. Real, undeniable evidence. She's silent for a moment. Then, we need to move carefully. If this is as big as you're saying, we're talking about a class action lawsuit. Good, I say. Because this isn't just about me anymore. The next morning, I contact a journalist I know, a woman named Rhiannon, who covers corporate misconduct for a major business publication. I send her a carefully worded pitch, hinting at the story without revealing too much. She responds within an hour. Let's talk. Meeting Rhiannon feels like lighting a match near gasoline. She's sharp, skeptical, and relentless in her questions. But when I show her the evidence, Callista's files, the signed termination agreement with my clause, the threatening emails from the company, her eyes widen. This is big, she says. Potentially huge. Can you run it? I ask. She nods slowly. But I need to verify everything. Independent sources, legal review. It'll take a few weeks. Do it, I say. 2 weeks later, the article drops. The headline reads, Employee outsmarts corporation, forces audit via termination clause. The story goes viral almost immediately. Within hours, it's trending on social media. Legal experts weigh in, some calling me brilliant, others questioning the ethics of my tactic. But the overwhelming response is support. Comments flood in. This is genius. She beat them at their own game. More workers need to fight back like this. My phone explodes with messages, former colleagues, strangers, reporters. But the message I'm waiting for comes from an unexpected source. It's an internal memo, leaked by someone still inside the company. The subject line, Emergency Board Meeting. The board of directors has taken notice. And they are not happy. According to the leaked memo, the board was blindsided by the article. They knew nothing about my termination, nothing about Imogen's tactics, and nothing about the legal threat the company now faces. The memo is furious in tone. How did this happen? Why were we not informed? What is the extent of our liability? It ends with a directive. Immediate internal investigation. All HR termination files to be reviewed. External audit to be considered. I read the memo 3 times, a grim satisfaction settling over me. The board is scrambling, and the pressure is mounting. 2 days later, I receive a formal letter from the company. It's not from Imogen or Alistair. It's from the board's legal counsel. The letter is short. In light of recent developments, the company has agreed to initiate an independent audit of HR termination protocols as outlined in your termination agreement. An audit firm will be selected and engaged within 30 days. I stare at the words, hardly believing them. They're actually doing it. I force them to comply. Fiona calls me that evening. You won, she says, her voice filled with disbelief. They're actually going through with it. This isn't over, I reply. This is just the beginning. But inside, I allow myself a moment of triumph. I did this. I stood up and I won. The audit firm arrives 4 weeks later. They're a top-tier outfit, known for their thoroughness and impartiality. Their mandate is broad, thanks to the wording of my clause. All HR termination protocols for the past 5 years. The company is forced to hand over everything: personnel files, severance agreements, performance reviews, internal communications. It's an invasive, exhausting process, and from what I hear through the grapevine, Imogen is furious. Petra texts me, HR is in chaos. Imogen's been in closed-door meetings for days. People are scared. I don't reply, but I feel a dark satisfaction. Let them be scared. Let them feel what I felt. The audit takes weeks. The firm brings in forensic accountants, employment law specialists, even IT experts to recover deleted files. Slowly, the truth begins to emerge. An interim report is leaked to Rhiannon. She publishes a follow-up article. Audit uncovers systemic termination irregularities. The article details preliminary findings, inconsistent severance calculations, targeting of employees near stock vesting dates, and a pattern of manufactured performance issues. The implications are massive. My phone rings. It's Fiona. They found something big, she says. Really big. What? I ask, my heart pounding. Millions, she says. Millions in unpaid severance and bonuses that were wrongly withheld. This is going to be a class action. I close my eyes, exhaling slowly. Justice is coming, and it's bigger than I ever imagined. The full scope of the fraud is staggering. The auditors discover that over 50 employees were systematically forced out over 5 years, many of them just weeks before significant financial milestones. Severance packages were miscalculated, bonuses were denied, and stock options were forfeited under false pretenses. The total amount? Nearly $12 million in stolen compensation. Rhiannon's next article is explosive. Corporate HR scheme cost workers millions. The backlash is immediate. Shareholders demand answers. Regulatory bodies launch investigations. And the law firm that Fiona works with files a class action lawsuit on behalf of all affected employees. I'm named as the lead plaintiff. The lawsuit accuses the company of systematic age discrimination, financial fraud, and breach of contract. It demands full restitution, punitive damages, and a complete overhaul of HR practices. The company's stock price drops 15% in a single day. But the most satisfying moment comes when I receive a short, terse email from Alistair. The subject line: Notice of resignation. He doesn't explain, doesn't apologize. Just a single sentence: I am resigning as general counsel, effective immediately. Petra texts me. Alistair is gone. Imogen is next. I allow myself a small smile. The dominoes are falling. Callista reaches out again, this time with even more damning evidence. She'd kept recordings, audio files of Imogen instructing her team on how to build a case against targeted employees. In one recording, Imogen's voice is clear and cold. Document everything. Even minor mistakes. We need a paper trail that justifies termination. In another, if they're close to vesting, we accelerate the process. Find a reason. Any reason. The recordings are chilling. They prove intent, premeditation, and a deliberate scheme to defraud employees. Fiona adds them to the class action filing. The judge reviews the evidence and issues a scathing rebuke in a preliminary ruling. The conduct alleged, if proven, represents a systematic violation of employment law and fiduciary duty. The company's lawyers try to negotiate a settlement, but the damages are too high, the evidence too damning. The case is going to trial. And then, the final blow. The board suspends Imogen. The official statement is carefully worded. Imogen Harlow has been suspended pending the outcome of the audit and related legal proceedings. But everyone knows what it means. Her career is over. Petra sends me a photo. Imogen's office, cleared out, her nameplate removed from the door. I stare at the image, feeling a strange mix of triumph and sadness. This is what justice looks like. But But it came at a cost for her, for me, for everyone involved. The trial is set for 6 months out, but the company doesn't want to wait that long. The negative publicity is destroying them. Clients are leaving. Employees are quitting. The board is desperate for a resolution. They offer a settlement, full restitution for all affected employees, punitive damages, and a commitment to reform HR practices. The total payout is just under $20 million. Fiona calls me with the news. It's a good offer, she says. Better than most class actions settle for. Will everyone be compensated? I ask. Yes. Every employee on that list will get what they're owed, plus interest and damages. I close my eyes, letting the weight of it all sink in. It's over. We won. But there's one more condition I insist on, a public apology. The company's CEO issues a statement, carefully crafted by lawyers, but genuine in tone. We deeply regret the actions of certain individuals within our organization. We failed our employees, and for that, we apologize. We are committed to rebuilding trust and ensuring this never happens again. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's something. In the aftermath, the company reaches out to me with an unexpected offer. They want to hire me as a consultant to help reform their HR policies and rebuild their ethics framework. At first, I laugh. They fired me, humiliated me, tried to cheat me. And now they want me back? But Fiona points out the leverage I have. You can name your terms. Make them pay for what they did, not just in money, but in real change. I negotiate hard. My consulting fee is 5 times my old salary. I demand a seat on the newly formed ethics committee. And I insist on a public acknowledgement of my role in uncovering the fraud. They agree to everything. When I walk back into that building for the first time as a consultant, the atmosphere is different. People look at me with respect, even awe. Imogen is gone. Alistair is gone. The old guard has been swept away. And I'm here to make sure the new regime is better. The final audit report is released 6 months later. It's over 300 pages, detailing every aspect of the fraud. The findings are damning, confirming everything we suspected and more. Imogen's actions are laid out in excruciating detail. The targeted terminations, the financial manipulation, the deliberate discrimination. The report concludes that her conduct was systematic, premeditated, and grossly unethical. But it doesn't stop there. The report also identifies structural failures, board oversight, compliance gaps, legal negligence that allowed the fraud to continue unchecked. Recommendations are made: independent ethics audits, whistleblower protections, mandatory HR training, and a complete overhaul of termination protocols. The company implements every recommendation. They have no choice. If they don't, they'll face regulatory sanctions and further lawsuits. I'm in a room when the board votes to adopt the new policies. It's a strange, surreal moment. These are the same people who let Imogen operate for years. But now, they're forced to change. As I watch the vote pass unanimously, I think about the clause I added to that termination agreement. One sentence. One moment of defiance. It changed everything. Imogen's fate is sealed. She's not just fired. Her actions are reported to the professional HR regulatory bodies. Her certifications are revoked. Her name is blacklisted in the industry. She tries to fight it, hiring lawyers, issuing statements claiming she was a scapegoat. But the evidence is overwhelming. The recordings, the spreadsheets, the audit findings, they all point to one person. The regulatory board's decision is final. Ms. Harlow's conduct constitutes gross misconduct and a breach of professional ethics. Her license to practice is permanently revoked. It's a complete and total fall from grace. The woman who once wielded so much power, who destroyed careers with a signature, is now unemployable in her own field. Petra texts me, saw Imogen's LinkedIn. She deleted everything. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say. Justice was served. But more importantly, the system that enabled her is gone. And that's what really matters. A year after my termination, I'm sitting in my first meeting as the head of the company's ethics committee. The boardroom is the same one where I was fired, but everything else is different. Around the table are new faces, People committed to transparency, accountability, and real change. The old guard is gone, replaced by leaders who understand that ethics aren't just a checkbox, they're the foundation of a healthy company. We review the new termination protocols. Every firing now requires independent review. Every severance package is audited. Every employee has access to whistleblower protections. And at the center of it all is my clause, the one I added in a moment of desperation. It's been formalized, expanded, and codified into company policy. Now, any employee can request an independent audit if they suspect wrongdoing. It's no longer just my weapon. It's everyone's. As the meeting ends, the CEO approaches me. "Thank you," he says quietly, "for what you did. You saved this company." I shake his head. "I didn't save it. I held it accountable. There's a difference." He nods, understanding. "Still, thank you." I leave the boardroom feeling lighter than I have in months. I didn't just get revenge. I rebuilt the system from the inside. The class action settlement checks go out 3 months later. 52 employees receive compensation, many of them life-changing amounts. I hear stories of people paying off mortgages, starting businesses, finally retiring in peace. My own settlement is significant, enough to secure my future and fund the causes I care about. But the money isn't what matters most. What matters is that we won. Together. I receive emails from former colleagues, thanking me for standing up, for fighting back, for refusing to be silent. Some of them join advocacy groups. Others speak out about their own experiences. The ripple effect is real. Rhiannon writes a final article. One clause changed everything. How a fired employee reformed corporate HR. The story becomes a case study in business schools, a cautionary tale for companies, and an inspiration for workers everywhere. I frame a copy of the article and hang it in my office. A reminder of what's possible when you refuse to accept injustice. 2 years after my termination, I'm invited to speak at a conference on workplace ethics. The audience is filled with HR professionals, lawyers, and corporate executives, people who need to hear this story. I stand at the podium, looking out at the crowd, and I tell them everything. The termination, the clause, the audit, the aftermath. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't make myself a hero. I just tell the truth. I didn't set out to bring down an entire HR department, I say. I just wanted justice. And sometimes, justice requires creativity, courage, and a willingness to take risks. The room is silent, absorbing every word. But here's the real lesson. I continue. The system only works if we hold it accountable, if we speak up, if we refuse to be silenced. The applause is thunderous. Afterward, people approach me with their own stories, tales of wrongful termination, discrimination, retaliation. Some ask for advice. Others just want to share. I listen to all of them, because that's what this is really about, not just my story, but theirs too. The company I once worked for is unrecognizable now. New leadership, new culture, new values. They've become a model for ethical HR practices, featured in industry publications and praised by advocacy groups. It's strange to think that my termination, the worst day of my professional life, led to this. But that's the thing about injustice. It either breaks you, or it becomes the catalyst for something bigger. I choose the latter. I still consult for the company, but my work has expanded. I now advise other organizations on ethics, compliance, and accountability. I train HR professionals on how to avoid the mistakes my former employer made. And I mentor employees who've been wronged, helping them find their own path to justice. It's fulfilling work. Work that matters. And it all started with one clause, added in a moment of defiance. Today, I'm sitting in the same boardroom where I was fired 3 years ago. But this time, I'm not a victim. I'm the chairperson of the Ethics Committee, reviewing policies that will protect thousands of employees for years to come. The clause I added to my termination agreement is now enshrined in company law. It's printed in every employee handbook, posted on the company intranet, and referenced in every HR training session. Any employee may request an independent audit of HR practices at their discretion. It's not just policy. It's a promise, a safeguard, a reminder that power can be challenged, that systems can be changed, and that justice is not a gift, it's a right. I look around the table at the faces of my colleagues, people committed to doing better, to being better. And I think about Imogen, about Alistair, about all the people who thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. Justice wasn't served on a silver platter. It was fought for, line by line, clause by clause, until the system had no choice but to change. And it started with a single sentence, written in the margin of a termination agreement. A sentence they didn't notice until it was too late. I closed my laptop, satisfied. The work isn't over, it never is. But today, right now, I can say with certainty, we won. And the clause I added that day, it's not just mine anymore. It belongs to everyone. Justice wasn't served. It was contractually obligated.